Thank you very much, and thank you all for the organization. This is an extraordinary event to share ideas. This is very enriching for me, particularly. Thanks, Arukane, especially. And perhaps you are wondering what role can play a bank in the field of tourism analysis. Sorry. All right. The format. Perfect. Sorry about the format because it has changed, but it can be read anyway, right? So we are a bank that, in fact, was founded here in Bilbao more than 1.5 centuries ago. Now we have around 65 million customers who act as our sensors. We analyze their activity with their credit card payments in an aggregated and anonymized way to extract conclusions and to put these conclusions at society disposal. We are operating, as you can see, in 35 countries, but this project started in Spain, and later we exported this to Mexico. We were a very small team 5 years ago, in a research unit of the BBVA's Innovation Center. Just 6 people working with and playing with this kind of data. Now we are more than 50 people, of course, making analysis at individual level for the bank for our customers' improvement of the services we provide to them. And, but a part of this original project playing with aggregated data remains on our analytic project. Our mission is to extract the value enclosed in BBVA's data. We develop data engines and we develop database products and open them to third parties. And about the kind of data we work with, in the world around smart cities projects, there are some physical flows that are relatively easy to measure. For example, mobility flows, traffic flows, or water cycle flows, energy inputs and outputs. But how about our activity, people's activity in terms of interest, in terms of activity? This is much harder to analyze. We have the social media, and this is a very rich source of data. But we are extracting knowledge from any activity that involves a payment. And in Spain, more or less, half of the payments in terms of money are made with a credit card. The other 50% is made with cash, and we cannot analyze this beyond the extractions in ATMs, withdrawals of money. So, basically, we are analyzing commercial dynamics, right? And why is commerce important? Here we have the figures. It counts for more than half of the GDP account, so the global, the gross domestic product is composed by 58% with consumption spending of families. In Spain, in Mexico, this is 2/3, even bigger. And commerce, hotel and catering services have great influence on employment. 1/3 of employment in a service-based country like ours. And of course, the importance of tourism, the first industry in Spain, second industry in Mexico after oil and energy sector. So any improvement we can achieve in these fields will have positive influence on the country's performance. This is not a night aerial view of the country. This is the geolocation of every point of sale of every commerce in the country. We receive information from every point of sale, even for those which we do not directly operate, because due to our market share, our credit cards have had activity on them. So here we can see the strong correlation between human settlements, cities, and commerce. This correlates absolutely with the population distribution in the country. And this gives us a view of the volume of data we are dealing with. We are talking about 500 million transactions every year, almost is more than 1.5 million every day. We are talking about 48 million different card holders, taking into account BBVA and no BBVA card holders. And we are talking about a big amount of money as a part of the GDP calculation. So we have big data, really big data, and a very rich kind of data. And we are trying to make the effort to transform this kind of data into information and into knowledge. And we are eager to put this kind of knowledge in the hands of those who can transform this knowledge into actions. And this is mainly the public sector at the first stage. To get this aim, we began our first 3 years of life as a project. We dedicated this time to make basic research in order to get insights, to transform the data into useful visualizations and applications. And the issues we focused on, I'm going to mention them a little bit later. Regarding the data, of course we have information about how much people are paying. So we have the amount of money and the amount of transactions that tell us very well about people flows. Of course, we know where the transactions is taking place in terms of geography and in terms of commercial category. We know if someone is paying in a restaurant or in a hotel or in transportation. Of course, we know when. We distinguish two kinds of transactions, the online and asynchronous transactions that can be analyzed for many purposes, but we are focusing on the synchronous transactions taking place on site, right? Because they are much more descriptive of a territory dynamic. And from BBVA cardholders, we have some information which is very eloquent. For example, their origin with a great granularity, with great resolution, zip code. And, of course, gender, age, basic socio-economical attributes, and inferred characteristics as purchasing power, behavioral segmentation. From non-BBVA card holders paying in our point of sales, we only know their country of origin. So, taking into account these two different data sources, our card holders' activity in every point of sale, and any card holder paying in our point of sales, we can get a very accurate vision. And of course, this vision will be better with a greater market share. In Mexico, we have 1/3 of all cards. We are operating also 1/3 of all point of sales. And in Spain, it's a little bit lower, it's around 18%, but this is eloquent enough to get a good vision. Of course, there are privacy constraints and limitations that we are self-imposing to our analysis because the legal framework is not very clear, so we are keeping ourselves from the side of security. We are talking about aggregations. We are not talking about any individual activity. And this implies some limitations to our analysis. If we want to be very descriptive, very granular, or get a high geographical resolution, we have to aggregate on time, and we will deliver statistics at month level. We cannot make a very detailed breakdown in time if we are focusing in a very small area. If we are covering a bigger area, like a neighborhood or a whole city or region, We can be very much detailed on time because we will be covering a bigger amount of persons taking activity in this place in this specific moment. And now I'm going to present some papers, research papers, scientific investigations that we have carried out, together with Sensible City Lab, MIT's Sensible City Lab, and other institutions like CSIC. This is a list. I guess this presentation will be available for you all after. So if you want to focus on any of these papers, you can do it later. They are uploaded to Archive platform. First one, for example, was about geographical delineation. In Spain, we have 50 provinces. And we divided the territory in 368 subregions. We call them comarcas, but this is not an official delimitation. Anyway, what we wanted to achieve was a new delimitation of the territory beyond the official boundaries drawn by official frontiers between autonomous communities, right? According to people's behavior. According to people's behavior, because we have people's place of residence and we have the information of where they are making payments. And we use the amount of the payment made to strengthen the links between the place of residence and the place of payment, right? So we applied our algorithms and get this new map of Spain, which is quite different from the official one. For example, around the capital city, there is a big area of influence. And there is a big cluster led by Bilbao, in fact, which covers not only Basque Country, but also Navarra, La Rioja, and part of Castile, Burgos, and part of Cantabria also. And this is how people is moving. So people living in the north part of Burgos is focusing on Bilbao as their services provider city, as their, let's say, capital. People living in Avila also, they don't go to Valladolid, which is their official capital. They go mainly to Madrid. It's a matter of size. It's a matter of richness of services, or it's a matter of proximity as well. Another research we carried out was based on creating a new ranking of performance, commercial performance of cities, taking into account 3 different kind of users. In first place, the residents in a city. In second place, the Spanish visitors of this city that paying in this city. And in third place, foreigners paying in a city. And after getting the results, we made a clustering. Of course, the importance of foreign visitors draw an arc in the Mediterranean coast. I don't know if this works. Yeah, no. But you can distinguish a cluster led by Barcelona, and where you have the Mediterranean coast, the islands also, and some inner cities that are human heritage places very well preserved, like Toledo or Santiago de Compostela, and where the foreigners' activity is quite strong. So we get here a new ranking, never done before. But of course, city scale matters. So the size of an urban area matters and influences these kind of conclusions. And how? This is Geoffrey West, a researcher from MIT. His TED talk is very enlightening. And he talked about how some positive parameters scale superlinearly according to city size. For example, GDP, global domestic product. For example, job opportunities, of course. And some other negative attributes also scale superlinearly with city scale, like crime, like health issues, right? We wondered how economic performance, or at least commercial performance, scale with city size, and get some conclusions. which are here. People in bigger cities spend more money on leisure. This is bars, restaurants, and clubs than expected according to the size of the city. They also spend more money on health institutions. And this is absolutely current with Geoffrey West's conclusions regarding health issues in bigger cities. But there are some basic items like food or like energy or gas that are agnostic to city size. They more or less correlate, not sublinearly. Another research we carried out is how attractive is a city. Does the attractiveness of the city depends on its size? And we analyzed 3 kinds of data: our cards activity, or foreigners' cards activity in our point of sale, Twitter, and Flickr. And we have a ranking of cities overperforming according to their city size in terms of attractiveness for visitors. And in the top scale were Málaga, Alicante, Toledo, Palma de Mallorca, Santiago de Compostela, and some other cities that underperform regarding to these metrics, like, for example, Badajoz, Vigo, Gijón, that would be expected to have a greater performance in terms of tourism, right? And this is another project which took us a couple of months. It was very nice. Official statistics never go down to municipality level. They stay at autonomous community level, or in the best cases at province level, right? The question we wanted to face is how could we define quality of life? This is a hard task. Quality of life depends on economic parameters. Global domestic product, housing prices, and employment were the variables we chose. Also on social parameters like crime, education, life expectancy, and these are very important, subjective well-being parameters that unfortunately are very hard to measure. So we don't have at our disposal dense and dynamic data source to measure happiness or self-esteem or self-realization. This is a hard task. So unfortunately, we had to focus on the 2 family of parameters, economic and social parameters. What we wanted to achieve is to find a correlation between official statistics and our conclusions created from microdata, and the comparison could only be made at province level. So we work to analyze our variables through machine learning techniques with these official statistics parameters: global domestic product, housing price level, crime rate, and so on. And this is our spending density gathered in our electronic payment systems, right? So these images are quite different. They have nothing to do, in fact. This correlates with population density in the country and therefore commercial density, and correlates with the point of sales distribution that I showed before. And we built some 35 indicators based on our microdata. And to these 35 variables, based on this, we built 16 principal components that, thanks to the model we built, we applied the standard principle of reduction to generate vectors and then a generalized linear model to find correlations. Finally, we end up with several methods to find correlations with official statistics at province level. We used a training set of 34 provinces using 6 variables per provinces, and a validation set of 18 provinces to check that, to use it as a ground truth. We found correlations with some of the principal components, not with others. And finally, after finding these kind of correlations, we had this result. This is the map drawn by official statistics, taking into account one of the variables. I think this is the GDP. And in the right part, we have GDP inferred from our model, right? So if we can find a correlation at province level that, says that our model has sense, with some exceptions. For example, there we have the province of Granada as an outlier. But if we can achieve this, we are able to go down to city scale level to describe these variables, GDP, crime rate, and performance in terms of well-being. That was the end of that was the conclusion of the research. Visualization, 5 minutes, right. Visualization. Together with MIT, we also tried to put our raw data, which are hard to deal with, in a nice way to extract conclusions. So we generated interactive dashboards that are fed with our data. We didn't do this as a product. We just wanted to check how feasible was it to order information and to put this information at the disposal of end users. This URL is open, and you can try this visualization interactive. This was published last summer and was based on the activity of the foreign visitors to Spain in July and August 2014. And here what we can see, for example, is that Barcelona is the leading province in the country in terms of foreigners spending. So it catches up to 23% of all the money spent in the country. This is for all countries of origin, for all nationalities, right? If we focus on some nationalities, mainly from South America, their central node is not Barcelona, but Madrid. Madrid is receiving 43% of total amount spent by Mexican visitors, for example. We can also track the activity of different cars along the territory, because a card paying in different points of sales may be identified and aggregated to draw this kind of visualizations. This is the footprint of foreign visitors in Spain in these 2 months without focusing on a specific nationality. If we focus on Mexican visitors, we can see that they explore the northern part of the country much more than the rest of the nationalities. And if we focus, for example, on people from Northern Europe, they are coming here to our Sun and Beach destination. And this is a very rich information for a city manager of a human heritage city in the inner part of the country. For example, I'm thinking about Salamanca, León, or Santiago de Compostela. So the question, who is coming to the country but is not visiting my city, is perhaps more interesting even than the question, who is coming to my city? So in order to focus communication actions and so marketing. This is the pattern of behavior of British people coming here. We are talking about 500,000 visitors that left a track on our system. So this is if you compare this with the survey method, this is another order of magnitude bigger. And here we have the breakdown of the areas of interest. They spend mainly on restaurants, fashion, hotel services, and they have a characteristic two-peaked time curve. This is very different to the footprint of Chinese visitors, which are, so people coming from United Kingdom belong to the middle class. People coming from China belong to the upper class in terms of purchasing power. And they focus very much on fashion. They spend 54% of the money on fashion. Just finally to mention some projects we are carrying out, because we passed the research phase and we entered into production, opening our data with 2 contests, aggregating data that we opened to society, to developers in 2013, 2014. We believe in open data philosophy and tendency. This is a global trend that cannot be stopped and should not be stopped. So public institutions began opening the data we private institutions should follow this trend. And we are cooperating with Segitur in Spain. We have several projects here in the framework of Smart Destinations project, which is very, very interesting. And we are also cooperating with the Ministry of Tourism in Mexico, la Secretaría de Turismo. We have signed an agreement, and we are going to develop for them 12 different analyses in the following months. First one has been the research of tourism dynamics in Riviera Maya, but I have only 1 minute, so the presentation is at your disposal. You may go on deeper into these kind of statistics in the geographical breakdown of expenses in Riviera Maya, in the relative importance of tourists in these destinations, for example, in Isla Mujeres, visitors, Mexican visitors, because we didn't use still foreign visitors activity in this kind of research. This is our second step. So national Mexican visitors in, for example, Isla Mujeres accounts for more than 3/4 of the income of the destination, right? And of course, here you have a breakdown according to different commercial categories, taking into account the average transaction and taking into account the specialization of the different destinations by the purchasing power of the visitor, which is very interesting, I think. The origin of the visitors is also very interesting, but in Mexico, which is a very centralized country, if you want to get nice insights, you have to take apart the capital, because if you don't do so, from Distrito Federal, we were receiving in Riviera Maya 1/4 of whole visitors. So this is the kind of metrics we are providing, mainly to public sector. And thanks for your attention. If you have any question. Yes.
Thank you very much. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Yuho.
Excuse me, I have the micro.
Wow, thank you for this very interesting presentation and really concrete examples of what big data can do for us. And I was really intrigued by your analysis on how cities and destinations underperform and overperform. Are you going forward with that and trying to answer the question why they are overperforming or underperforming?
I have to say that from my point of view, there are some biases in this kind of analysis, because they depend very much on the delimitation of a city you take into account. For example, Madrid has a big suburban area of influence, which in terms of tourist attraction is not very interesting. So if you analyze the whole area of influence of Madrid, or you focus just in the city center, you will obtain very different results. And this is the case with Barcelona. Barcelona is a very compact city, and its municipality itself, it's artificially low. It has 1.5 million inhabitants, but the fact is that if you take into account the whole area of influence, that could be the province, is more than 500,000 people. So the first question is that you should compare comparable territories. And this is itself an issue. To your question, we would like to go further into this, but what we have done is just to make a basic research, and we expect the end users of this information to send us their questions. So we would like to receive questions to be answered from experts and from city managers and from governments, because they are the one who can action this information.
Yes.
Okay. Hello? Okay. My name is Miriam Scaglione. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. I have a question. Which is the business model of the BBVA, your bank, with this? Because I think that now you are very kind. You help science to go on, but you should have a business model. How do you face that? Are you going, of course, monetize this model, and how your customers would realize that you are using their data? Have you think about this issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, we are not a public institution, so we don't receive income from taxes. We must monetize this knowledge. Not in the first stage, which was just an exploration, and it lasted 4 years without any income. But if we want to pursue the sustainability of this project, we would like to monetize this kind of information, like consultancy work. And regarding our customers being aware of that they are part of this kind of researches, of course we have included this in the information and the terms and conditions of use of the credit card. And if they don't want to take part in this kind of analysis, they can direct to us an email, and yes, we'll erase their data from the aggregated source.